4D Zooming DSLR Camera Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish.
Hi guys, in today's video I am going to be showing you a really cute little 4D camera, and unfortunately it's really hard to see what's going on in the video because it's all black, but it's got a gorgeous little duochrome on the lens, so it looks really sparkly and awesome. I hope you guys like it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
So I'm going to start with, I wanted something fairly, invisible in the background, I suppose you could say. So I went with just a very light, kind of a semi-sheer pink so that it would look kind of natural, but not just cover pink that's beige and plain. Something a bit more girly. So I decided to go with the pink, and then I'm going to encase that with a layer of clear acrylic to make sure it is nice and strong. But with these sort of semi-sheer clearish colors, you really don't need to worry about adding that extra layer of strength with the clear. It's just an option. I just tend to add the clear on top of everything. It's part of my process, but it's up to you. Then I'm going to file the nail into shape with my E-file. I started with a coarse bit to remove any bulk, and then a really nice fine bit to just smooth everything out and make sure it is really easy to work on top of. Plus, it's going to make this next layer super shiny. So I applied a layer of no wipe top coat, and then I'm going to be using my duochrome powder over the top of that. And the effect is not quite as obviously duochrome-y as it would be on top of black, but it gives the background a really nice sheen, which ties the whole nail together. At least I think so. Then apply a layer of gel sealer on top of that, cure it, and then we can start working on our camera. So now I'm going to take with some black acrylic on a nail form backing and just make the base of the body of the camera. And so, DSLRs all have a fairly generic shape as far as, even between brands. There's a pretty standard appearance to them, which is just what I was going for. I didn't necessarily make a specific camera or anything like that. In fact, I don't really have a preference. I've had Sonys, Canons, and Nikons as far as different cameras go. I've kind of dipped my little toes in all the different brand pools, so it's not like I have a personal preference. So just made it generic. However, if you do have a personal preference, you can choose a specific camera. But then I'm going to take, and I cut off a piece of a straw and I filled that in with acrylic, having that set against a nail form backing. And after it's set, you can take, and this part, depending on the straw you're using, is either really easy, it'll just peel right off, or if it's a little bit heavier of a straw, you may have to pick at it a little bit. But it will come off, and it's not really that difficult. But use a little scissors, and the tweezers can definitely help, and just peel all of the plastic straw away from your acrylic, and you'll be left with a really nice cylinder. File the two ends of it because the top and the bottom might not be perfectly smooth and probably won't be. So just give those a quick little file to kind of smooth that out. If there's any little stragglers, you can kind of pick those off too. Then I'm going to attach those, or that little it's kind of like the base for your lens, and I'll attach that in a second. But first I'm going to add another layer of acrylic over the top of my little body, and I'm going to just take and ever so slightly start working in the shapes of the camera. So there's different ridges and shapes within that. So you have kind of a finger grip on that side, which I'm pushing and pulling the acrylic to get that shape. There's a little indent where the lens attaches to the body, and the top of the camera has the part where the flash hook's on, and then there's usually either a wheel or a dial for the different settings on the camera. And you can just keep kind of adding those little bits and pieces in there. And if you set that bigger piece or a bigger bead of acrylic just on top of that, and then as it's setting, if you can work quick enough at least, you can hopefully be able to just push and pull and get everything. Since these aren't very detailed shapes, they're actually fairly soft shapes. You should be able to get them all worked out before that acrylic sets. And you can just keep playing with it until it's set too much to do anything to it. But then I'm going to take and attach that little lens base that I made to the center of the camera, and it'll stick out just like so. So this is actually really, you could leave it like this and it would just be extreme 3D, or you can add the second little piece to the lens, which I did in a moment. I'll show you guys, and it'll be that 4D. But then I'm going to take and glue my camera base down to the nail. So just take some nail glue and hold that on there. For me, it didn't want to stay attached. Eventually it did though. And then I'm going to take, and as you can see, there's a nice gap underneath that, and I'm going to fill that all in with black acrylic. And so that's going to make your camera look so much more dimensional, because it's going to fill in all of that weirdness behind it and give it so much more depth. Whereas if you tried to make it as thick as you wanted the camera to be before you attached it to the nail, it would be sticking so much farther out. This way it looks like it's kind of one with the nail and it's coming right out of the nail. which gives it a lot more of that extreme 3D appearance without adding all that extra thickness to the nail. Just keep filling in, plus this is making the whole process, the whole design so much stronger because you're really, really attaching that camera to the nail. Now I'm going to take the same size of straw, and actually it's just a different side of the same straw, and I'm going to be sculpting the little twisty part of my lens that's going to go around the lens base that we made previously. Just sculpt that right around the outside of the straw. So this way you know that they're going to fit together really, very well, because the other piece is a little bit smaller than this one because you have the thickness of the straw is the difference between them. So you don't have to worry about it being too tight or it not fitting or it not being the same size in whatever way. You know it's going to be perfect if you use the same straw. So just sculpt that around, a nice little loop-to-loop around the outside of your straw. Let that set. After it's set, cut that section of the straw off. Trim your straw. Once again, you have to kind of work on it to get it out of there. Hopefully it's not going to fight you as much as mine did. Just kind of push it, twist it, get it out. It's not really, like I said, it's not really as hard as it looks. Looks like I'm struggling more than I really did. You do have to be a little bit gentle, sort of, with it so that you don't crack your little lens piece, but it shouldn't be too bad to get that out. File the edges ever so gently, and then just to straighten those out. Then you're going to need to just take and sculpt a circle on nail form backing, set that little lens cylinder that you made, a little lens piece, so that you have a lens on the end of your lens, the glass on the end of your lens. And then make your little ring on the end of it, your little focal ring, just so that there's a little bit more details to it. So just sculpt a little bit of a thicker edge right around the very outside of your lens, like so. And like I said in the intro, I apologize that everything is basically done with black acrylic and it's hard to see what's happening in the video. It's one of the downfalls of some of these designs, but there does get to be some, in real life it looks, you can see all the different facets of this design. Just the camera doesn't like to pick up the details of the camera. Just keep sculpting all of those around. I recommend doing that in little beads so that you don't end up with too much in an area and you have plenty of time to get it into that nice thin little line before it sets up on you. Just do like so. And then with diluted gray paint, I'm going to start highlighting the camera. I highlighted the body and the lenses. And I used diluted gray paint so it wouldn't be too harsh. You could also use diluted white paint, but you need to really make sure that you fully dilute that, or you have a risk of having it get to be too much. So highlight around that focal ring, and then highlight ridges down the lens. I know that pretty much all the cameras I've ever used have little kind of ridgy grips around the lens so that you can zoom easier and do everything without having to worry about it slipping. So have that, put that back on there. And really, I didn't do too many details on this. If you wanted to, if there was a specific camera that you had in mind, it'd be kind of fun to add, like you could write Nikon or Canon or Sony or whichever one above on the nail. You could add that little logo, or if you were fairly ambitious, you could add the logo on the camera itself too. But then I'm going to take with some no wipe gel top coat and I'm going to paint my lens, the little glass piece on the end of the lens. Cure that, and then with my duochrome color I'm going to burnish that in to give that the really shiny, amazing camera lens appearance. Add another layer of top coat over that, apply some matte top coat over the rest of the camera, and you are all done. Make sure as you're matte top coating the lens little zoomy piece that you don't get any on top of their glass so that it doesn't dull that. But then it's all done and that pulls out, and it's just, yeah, I kind of have my uncle's a photographer, and I don't know, we've always had different cameras around the house, and like I said, I've tried all the brands, I've seen this and that, so I like DSLRs. But I hope you guys like this as much as I do, and please tag me with any recreations, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!